Hey, CMR. Welcome to everyone coming in. I'm just trying to set up my stream as usual. Hoping everyone is well. Hello to everyone coming in. And also, when you come in, please put a like on the video just to help boost the algorithms with YouTube so that they can like me a bit better and push me out. So hello everyone, that was actually an artist called Dawn, I think it is, and it's called Van Gogh, and I really love this song. It's basically saying, go be Van Gogh, go create your life, go, don't be bound by the situations that you experience and think that's the box that you can only experience. And I think this is definitely a fitting song for extremely important, and especially more so important talking about it now before we cross over into 2020, even though 2020 doesn't really start until the spring equinox in March, but I digress. But I think it's important that we align our mindset in the right place just to make sure that we're aligning with the mastery that Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto is trying to bring us to right now. A lot of intense energies, But again, it's only for our greatest good, and it's only to push us to grow and to get to the place that we need to be in our lives. Making sure that we're in alignment with our purpose that we chose before incarnating into this place, into this realm, into this third dimension. And so the topic I want to be talking about today is about the concept of generational curses. And is it even something that we should really be subscribing to anyway? This year, 2019, has been a year of just paradigm shifts, a year of perspective shifts. I've just like, there's so many things that my mind, my whole being, everything has just transformed this year. And a lot of things that I've just allowed myself to expand on, and allow myself to question myself in terms of what is it that I actually believe, or what is it that I actually subscribe to. Because in me acknowledging these things, I'm making sure I'm in alignment with my own truth. And I did make a video a few days ago, I think it was my Jupiter and Capricorn video, where I was like, now we need to be grounded in terms of what is it that we actually really do believe. It's not, I mean, a lot of the things that we believe, it's just concepts that we haven't really grounded. We've heard someone explain something or say a concept really well, and we've been like, okay, that makes sense. And then we've added that to our arsenal without actually really evaluating, questioning, and really testing to see if that really resonates and aligns with our greatest truth. And I feel like, especially for those that have come from this whole religious program, transitioning from religion, whatever religion you've come from, it doesn't even have to be religion. As those of you who are regulars to my channel, a lot of the things that we deem as spiritual, I see as religious as well. It's just the same program. We've just, learned how to transition and make it fit into something else. And so I feel that, yeah, I've had to really question a lot of things. And this one particular thing of generational curses is something I've really had to question this year. And it's interesting because this year would have been 400 years since slavery. And I feel that the roots of the concept of generational curses only came from the Bible. I feel that had we not read this thing in the Bible of God saying that people being cursed, and even the Bible doesn't even really, if you actually really read the Bible, it does actually back up what I'm actually saying. What it is that the way that people teach things, like they teach it like, okay, now we're cursed, and now this is going to be a curse that is going to be passed on to the children and the children's children, and the children is going to have to pay for the sins of the fathers, and all of that type of language. And it's a thing of, it's actually quite toxic, and it's actually quite debilitating, because what it's doing is that it's setting a boundary to say that this is something that we have, and it's something that we can't really break out of. It's a curse. What is a curse? And you have to look, a lot of the things that we have to look at the language of what it is that we're actually saying. What is a curse? Something that is, it's a hex. It's someone's done something maliciously to you. And let me just put this disclaimer here first. Unless you are the result of someone specifically going and putting a curse on your family, and I've heard of stories, I even read a book the other day, I can't remember what book it was, maybe it might have been of Water and Spirit, amazing book, Mali something, I can't remember the name, but definitely check out that book. And it's you'll find a lot of it more so in African cultures or within Caribbean cultures that are very much rooted in their African spiritual traditions, of someone cursing the family. I know someone personally who passed away, who was the result of a curse that was placed on the family, and out of the blue, the sons started dying one after the other, one after the other. Those things are not, because we all talk about we all have generational curses. We all don't have generational curses. Like I said, unless someone has specifically done that to your family, that's a specific issue. The majority of us, what we have is bad generational choices. What we have is programs that haven't been taken accountability for. We have people that have been born to traumatic families, or and understanding the history is very understandable. It makes sense how these things gets passed down and how these things happen. But at the end of the day, if I look at myself and I look at my family, I am not like, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that I separate myself from the programming and the patterns, generational patterns that have inflicted my family. That's all it is. It's a pattern. I don't have to subscribe to that pattern. I can take the opportunity to break that script by making a choice. It's decisions. So if that pattern is a pattern of alcoholism, and it's not to say that these things are easy to break. It's not. It's a lot. I understand. But if that pattern is alcoholism, now you may have those influences. You may have these things around you that may influence you because that's what you know. That's what you have been exposed to. But you have the choice not to be able to succumb to that. I mean, I've seen multiple examples of people who come from crazy families and they are nothing like their family. There are people who have, their parents are drug dealers, complete crackheads and all that kind of stuff. And they are very successful, going in a completely different direction because they took it upon themselves to make sure that they wasn't going to continue that pattern. They wasn't going to continue that program. And so I think it's really important to begin to recognize that between these things like this, there's always a choice and there's always an opportunity for you to break free from these traits. They're not yours. The moment that you start to claim that, that's when it becomes a curse. And now you start creating your own curses in your life. Now that's a deep one. And I spoke the other day when I was talking about we create our own strongholds by the way, and this is why I'm being very, very strategic and very strict with what I say, because what you say, like that in itself is creating a space for manifestation, right? When we look at the concept of the Bible, when it says, and God spoke and there was, that is still relative to us. Even the Bible has a concept where it says death and life is in the power of the tongue. So whatever you say, you have the ability to create whether it's positive or negative, right? You have the ability to manifest that into your reality. So I'm making sure that I'm very, very particular with the types of words that I'm saying. And so I need to understand what these words mean and what is my intention that I'm trying to apply to these words, because my intention may not be what it is that I'm actually saying, right? So let me go to my notes. Right, so every generation has or gets its own opportunity to free itself of the poor choices of the generation prior. And I had to think about this really deep, because I'm I'm from the Pluto and Scorpio generation, and so we've definitely come here to transform, come here to do that work. But we have to take into consideration in the society that we're living in right now. It's easier to be able to break away from certain conditioning, certain traits, certain patterns, because of the exposure to information, the exposure to resources. How many years ago, like counseling wasn't a thing, mental health, all of that type of stuff, because of the more that we've exposed ourselves to information, is the more that we become aware of these types of things. There wasn't this type of awareness before. And so I had to then look at generations individually and look at, based on the circumstances and the environmental factors and all of these types of things that was influencing them at that time, taking into consideration all of that, not putting them in the shoes of 2019. They had an opportunity to be able to break a certain level of programming. And it's not to say that everything is perfect, but it's just to kind of highlight that there's layers to everything. And so whether that layer may have been to whatever their parents may have done something in particular that they didn't want to do, and so they made sure that they wasn't going to do that. It doesn't mean to say that they didn't fail in other areas, but they were attempting to break a certain element of that program. But I feel that we can become very strict in terms of these things, because what is fueling it is our anger of, why am I having to deal with your karma? Like, I didn't ask for this. Like, I came here a sovereign being, like, to just experience, but then I was born into this family with all of this mess. And this is why I always like to come back to the perspective of the soul. And this is why I love astrology, because like in all of these things, you're still having to come back to the simple fact of, what is it that you chose to come into? Your rising sign, your ascendant. You chose to come here, and you chose a specific path. You chose your family, you chose your environment, you chose all of these different things because you knew that this would create the perfect atmosphere to produce what needs to be produced. You chose all of these things. And so there's a certain level of accountability that has to be taken in that aspect. So the important thing to remember is that no one has more power than you, and no one has power over you. The moment that I had to realize this revelation, whoa, this changed my whole perspective of life, because that's been one of my battles, is power struggles. Feeling that someone has got power over me, and me feeling powerless to be able to speak, to be able to defend myself, to be able to even express myself, express my creativity. It's so crazy, because as some of you know, I'm first a musician, I'm first a singer. And I remember when I was first started singing, and whenever I'd be asked to sing, whether I'd be asked to perform or whatever, I would purposely not sing my best. I would self-sabotage myself and purposely, I wouldn't sing rubbish, like, but I'd make sure that I would sing as simple as possible. And I wanted to do that because I didn't want to bring attention to myself. I didn't want to create a spotlight for myself, because that's not what that's never been me. I mean, there has been an element where I've been like, okay, I want to be out there, but then I don't want the spotlight attached to it. Like, I just want to be able to be a normal person. And so, like, when when I started doing that, I started to question, like, every time I go on stage, I'll be like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I suppressing myself? And it's taken me years to be able to step into myself into a way that I can not allow myself to be held back by that anymore. But it's a thing of, I gave other people the power over me because what I was afraid of was their criticism of what is it that I sounded like. Um, you know, and because of that element of perfection in me, I wanted to make sure that they would be able to say good things about me, because I hadn't yet learned how to deal on how to handle and manage people speaking negatively or saying or giving me negative criticism. And so that was my fear that I had to be able to heal through, and I had to be able to work through. And then I had to get myself to a place where I was like, okay, I'm no longer going to continue to give people power over me. I have that power. I have the right to be able to claim my power. I have the ability to make sure that I don't have to dim my light for anyone else. We all can shine as bright. I don't believe in one person shining bright. Like, that's a very heliotistic mindset. Like, it's very egotistical. It's very narcissistic. And that's not what I'm about. I'm about everyone being able to shine bright together. No one having to feel like they have to dim their light. You know, and so really integrating that aspect of things, of just knowing that I have the ability to step into my power. A lot of this came through my sexual abuse as well, because the moment that I was abused, I froze, and a lot of my guilt and a lot of my shame was at the fact that I hadn't learned how to be able to step out of myself and defend myself. But the point is, I wasn't taught how to be able to do that. I wasn't taught that when an adult does something to you or says something to you, I wasn't taught boundaries. So I wasn't even taught a boundary that if an adult does something, or this person does, or if your mum does this or whatever, everyone was the same to me. My parents hadn't placed that boundary in me or even taught me how to be able to use my voice. When I went to school and I was getting bullied, my mum would say, make sure you go to the teacher, make sure you don't do this, make sure you don't do that. I was taught how to be docile. I was taught how to not defend myself. I was taught to allow people to walk all over me. I was taught to allow people to continue to take advantage of me. And a lot of this was, again, because of the patterns that my family had, my mum and my dad, and going back, and all of the experiences that had contributed towards that. But their experiences are not my experiences. I have to learn to be able to compartmentalize all of these things and say, this is my experiences. These are the experiences that I have currently experienced in my life. And yes, this is my foundation. This is my programming. This is how this was able to happen. But this is not the story that I have to subscribe to. I don't have to accept that. I now have a choice to be able to change the whole script. You are now the creator of your reality. And so we have to learn how to be able to claim that right. Claim the right to create your reality. A lot of us are staying on autopilot, allowing forces, the universe will just do whatever it needs to do. No, you take hold of that. What is it that you want to make sure happen in your life? Like, don't allow whatever to be. And yes, there is a certain element of allowing whatever to be. That's that element of balance. There's chaos and then there's order. But you have to allow yourself to create that order as well. What is the order of what is the direction you want your life to go in? You know, really be intentional about these things. And again, I've mentioned that I'm going to be doing a workshop on some laws of growth and laws of personal growth, and just learning how to be able to grow in itself. And one of the key things of growth is being intentional about the growth that you're trying to achieve. If there's no intention applied to your growth, where are you going? It's going to be like a balloon that's just flying all over the place. It has no direction. It hasn't been focused. There's no focus that's been applied to it. Hi, Phyllis. I'm hoping you're well. So usually what generational curses speak to is unhealthy family pathologies. So things like poor health, illiteracy, sexual violence, or poverty, or any type of misfortune. But how is your dysfunction created? Like, that's the question you have to ask yourself. And it's by our decisions. Like, how many of you have, and I want you to genuinely answer this question. How many of you have hid behind this whole guise of inherited issues to dodge the responsibility of having to resolve your issue? Like, be real about yourself, like, before we go into 2020, because 2020 is 2020 vision. It's really being clear. And if you're not clear yourself and being clear with yourself, the reality check that you're going to feel in 2020 is going to be majorly harsh. And you can make it a lot easier for yourself just by being real with yourself. Like, how many times have you evaded your element of responsibility of your own development due to, generational curses? And this is something I've been open about this. This is part of the reason that I started my channel. And it was because of this book. And I've showed it here before. The Victims and Victimhood book, and it's by Trudy Govia. This book slapped me in my face because I faced a major issue this year. And this is why this topic came up, because it's been a concurrent theme this year that I'm having to just really face and just put it to bed before going into 2020. I faced I faced a crazy issue at the beginning of the year where I was backstabbed quite bad, and for no reason as well. It was just really wild. And this is a theme that has happened throughout this year with people that I genuinely cared for. And I was just like, this can't be happening all the time. And I remember the beginning of this year feeling emotional just thinking about it, because I just remember the feeling that I felt. I was so broken because I was just like, why am I always the person that's having this stuff happen to me, and there's no reason for it? And then I realized that what was happening is that there was an energetic projection of my own sense of victimhood, like that I was still clinging on to, that was still manifesting in these situations, and I had to take accountability for that. And I remember I got so angry because all of the things that kept coming up for me was all of the times that I've been taken advantage of, and a lot of these things have been connected to my family, and I've been like, oh my gosh, my family. And even though that is still very much true, that's their thing they have to deal with. But for me, I have to deal with my victimhood. I have to deal with my thing that I put myself in that position to begin with, like just by my open heart. And it's not to say that I now have to close my heart, but I now have to know how to balance things. I now have to know how to set healthy boundaries without feeling like I have to clam up and not be myself and not really love the way that I want to love. These are the things that I have to take accountability for. And so another thing is the major thing is that we have a propensity for problematic behavior. And again, it's like we live in such a narcissistic culture where it's so easy to always blame someone when you're triggered and blame someone else and whatever. It's always someone else, like it's always someone else. And this is why I actually did that video a few weeks ago about, am I the toxic person? Because sometimes you need to turn that mirror back on yourself and ask yourself some questions. The same things that you hate about the people that are hurting you and doing all of these things to you. There's elements of yourself that is that you are them. This is why this is the relationship between Aries and Libra. They are mirrors of each other, and Aries has to find itself or understand itself through its mirror of other people, and thus Libra. But then Libra has to learn how to find its independence at the same time. Like, we have to learn how to separate these things. But there's so many levels to this. Like, oh my gosh. And there can be so many things that led to the problems that you have. Like, let's ground things again. Like, where was you brought up in? Was you brought up in an area that was, poverty driven? And so the mindset of that location, of that area, is just on that vibration. So that in itself led to that happening. Like, that's another factor. That's a physical factor. And again, it's not to blame it, but it's just a level. It's for everything. It's just a level of understanding. It's just having a level of understanding, and then allowing there to be compassion for that understanding, but not holding to that as a crutch. Like, you have to be able to learn how to move beyond the crutches. And even this is why, this is a question that I've been asking myself this whole year, and I'm still learning how to be able to answer this question, because one of these things, it irritates me so much now. And I'll tell you how this started to begin with. But I get that whenever we go through pain or painful experiences or traumatic experiences, we have to, or we have this need to find purpose in it, or find purpose in the pain. And yes, that is an element of truth, because that in itself becomes alchemy. But sometimes we hold ourselves to our painful story. And how I started noticing this is, and I love her absolutely, I love her. But Lisa Nichols, amazing life coach, motivational speaker, transformational coach, one of my inspirations, big inspirations. Now, she's amazing at what she does, but one thing I noticed that really irritates me is that every time she speaks, and in fact, it's actually the main part of her branding, is that she keeps bringing up the fact that she was, the story of when she said, basically, of her being on government assistance, and that being like her rock bottom, and her saying that she's never going to be able to, she never wants to get back to that place, whatever. Cool, that was now your catalyst. But you notice that she keeps getting emotional every time she speaks about it. She's always crying every time she speaks about it. And it's about even evaluating, why is the government assistance thing such a thing for you? And it really, that comes up to an element of shame, the shame that's attached to people who claim benefits or whatever. For her, it wasn't a choice for her to be going on to government assistance. Like, she worked all of her life, and she wanted to be able to maintain this image of, I'm a corporate working woman, like achieving my dreams, all of that type of stuff. She wanted that image to be projected. She didn't want the image of poverty, or the reality of poverty, the reality of, I'm having to be receiving help from the government. But the point is that at some point you need to be able to move away from that. Like, that may have been for that period in time to get you out of where you was, that needed to be your fuel. But my question is, like, I had to keep asking myself, who am I without my pain? Because my pain can't be the main basis of who I am. My pain can't be the thing that I always project all the time. Like, what is that? Again, that's another crutch. Like, who are you separate from all of the pain, separate from being a mother, separate from everything that is connected to everyone else? Like, who are you by yourself? Not what you can do for people. And I realized that was one of my major problems. I've been stuck in this program of continually feeling like I have to be someone for someone, or has to do something for someone. But what was I doing for myself? Like, this is why I had to take a lot of time really being by myself to really conquer my whole codependency issue. Again, fueled by all of these influences. Darn. But again, that's my thing that I have to own, and I have to begin to learn to separate away from. So what else did I want to say? Yeah, like, when people feel powerless to solve their problems, they're more likely to embrace what they believe to be inevitable. Like, it's like you just give up. Like, okay, and I had to realize this in myself. Like, this is what made me really spark up this year, because I realized I just was able to see certain aspects in myself that I was just like, damn, like, I shut myself down. Like, we can be on autopilot a lot of the time, and it's like, because you feel, okay, this is the issue. Now this is set in stone. Like, it's just like with astrology. This is why I keep saying that astrology is just the depiction of the program that is influencing you. You don't have to be on that program. You can say, bye, I'm on my own program. That's the point. Like, it's learning how to separate away from these things and not just allowing everything to just happen just because it can. Like, where's your control? The inability to envision a better future for oneself, or the belief that the future is at mercy of someone else's guilt. Someone else's guilt leads to feelings of hopelessness, stagnancy, and depression. We create our own emotional spiral. Like, we have to learn how to tap in a bit quicker. Like, this year, especially going into 2020 with Jupiter and Capricorn, like, it's not, there's no time for emotions. It's not to say that there's no time for emotions. We still have to allow ourselves to process our emotions, but we're going to learn how to master them a lot more now. We're going to learn how to just be a bit more balanced about things. Like, and this is why this year was bringing up all of these triggers, so we could see what was actually underneath there, so we can know what we're actually clearing. Let me see. I said, if there is a curse, it's the one we cast every time we deny our ability to change the trajectory of our lives. That is the only curse that's over your life, the inability to change the trajectory of your life. Yeah, I think that's basically what I wanted to say today. If there's any questions, let me know. But before I go into answering any of your questions, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a workshop entitled The Prison of the Soul, and I'm going to be going deeper into these types of programmings and understanding what are these influences, genetic generational influences, what are our karmic influences, all of these different types of things, our emotional makeup, Yeah, that was because, sorry, someone said definitely 2016 to 2019 was the year of resolving family stuff for me. That's because the node's been in, the North Node's been in Cancer. So it's just been, I've had it too. I've had the most amount of family madness happen in this time. But we're going to be going into past lives. We're going to be going into the moon signs and what they actually mean in connection to our karma, in connection to our subconscious programming, and learning how to begin to break out of these scripts and break out of these prisons that our souls are entrapped in. Just bringing clarity to what is actually creating your borders, or what is making you feel entrapped, or what is not making you feel comfortable, which is what the moon does. Just gives things so much more clarity, because you see what's there, and then now you know how to be able to work through these things. So the workshop will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. and you can register for it on my website on www.soul-reconnection.com. There is limited spaces, so I do advise you to get in ASAP, Rocky. And yeah, it's gonna be amazing. I've got so much info. I've had to cut down this. I literally did like about 45 pages of research that I've written up on my Word. But a lot of these things I'm going to be putting into other workshops and stuff. I'm looking to actually do a workshop a month. Let's see how I go with that. But I'm looking to put on like a workshop just to be able to help you guys to understand more about astrology, more about growing, personal growth, more about self-discovery, more about self-development, more about self-mastery, all of these different types of things. And whatever it is that you can make some suggestions of what are the things that you would like me to go in depth into or do a workshop on, I can definitely do that as well. But yeah, the workshop will be tomorrow, so you can sign up for that on my website. So Amy says, I've been trapped on a loop with my mum, dependent on her. I've been stunted developmentally. I'm 25 and I don't know how to free myself from her when I don't have any help or people or even skills. So you may have been over nurtured by your mum to where you felt like you couldn't separate yourself. And you know what, you're going to go through your Saturn return shortly as well, so that probably may be a key thing to what is it that you're actually learning to break from. But yeah, codependency is real, and I do get an element of that. I was in a place where I was dealing with something not as much, but I did have a crutch on my mum, but at the same time she was a narcissist, so then I was learning how to be able to, I'm still learning how to be able to separate myself and learn how to allow myself to be independent, or give myself the opportunity to be independent, because she was so over nurturing and so overprotective, every opportunity for me to have an element of independence was taken away from me. And so I wasn't able to have that type of experience. But as I'm growing, and especially now that I've become a mother, I'm having to step into that element of myself much more. But definitely reach out to me. Let me have a quick glance at your chart. You can send me an email on soulreconnectioninfo@gmail.com. You can find my email on my website as well, soul-reconnection.com. But I'm going to be doing, hopefully talk about some more stuff on codependency, because that's a very real thing. I know a lot of us are dealing with, and it's very much real. It's very much real. But I'm going to jet off. Hold on, my mom's not nurturing, she's control of everything and exactly the same thing as me. Then with regards to just the toxicness. It's almost like that's all you know. I, this is so mad. It's almost like that's all you know, like the toxicness in itself. And this is why I've had to like separate myself so much, or learn how to be able to separate myself more and more from my family, and create that boundary around myself, because they had control to me, or had a lot of control to me, and I allowed that to happen. But it's, again, I feel like a lot of this comes into inner child healing, because it's now allowing yourself to come out of the child program. We're not in childhood anymore. Like, we're not back home. And this is why I've actually made a conscious thing. I've had to like start saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what's going to happen in my house, because I never had the opportunity to be able to speak these things openly as a child. And so sometimes it may come out a bit more harshly because it's like, oh, I found a new skill, how to speak up for myself. But yeah, like, it's really, really crazy, and I totally understand what you're dealing with. But yeah, you can reach out to me personally so I can understand a bit more about your story, and we can have a talk. Jolie says, I heard sidereal natal chart shows a lot of karmic things, but I also heard it's not accurate. Will this chart help me break from these curses loops? Okay, so sidereal okay. Vedic astrology is very, very questionable. But what I'm not a Vedic astrologer. I'm actually a tropical astrologer. But what I do is that I integrate a lot of Vedic concepts and tropical concepts, just to kind of bring a bit more clarity. Now, sidereal Vedic astrology is more directed towards the soul. So yeah, your draconic chart is what shows up a lot of your karmic stuff. But with the workshop that I'm going to be going into is specifically into the moon. Going into the moon, I'm actually going to be, the next few workshops, I'm going to be kind of focusing on a lot of subconscious programming stuff. So I will be starting on the moon, which again will give you an essence of what is going on in what is the memory of your past life. Then I will move into understanding the fourth house, which again is related to early programming, the same thing as well, as that's ruled by the moon. And then I'll move on to the ascendant, just understanding the soul's purpose for incarnating, and then I'll move into the nodes of the moon, which is all to do with the soul's purpose, and again dealing with karma as well at the same time. So I'm trying to go through a process of things to kind of clear up one area of this area of programming, or some subconscious programming. I'm going to be going into the Black Moon as well, Black Moon and Lilith, so we're understanding more about our shadows and deep sexual natures and instincts and all of these types of stuff. Oh, that's going to be real interesting. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up, but I'm hoping that answered your question, Jolie. Amy says, my mom is also Amy says, mine's religious Muslims. I know you know. Oh, listen, and I think Muslim cultures is on a next level of religion to Christianity. I mean, we do have that level of, you know, very dogmatic stuff in both of the things, but I get, because you've now got the culture added to it. We don't really have the culture in Christianity, but with you, it's embedded in your culture, so that there's less escaping from that. So I can understand how difficult that must be for you, Amy. Yeah, that's a lot. Golden says, my mum is also toxic, but I just got money and I'm getting the hell out of here. Girl, listen, that's my vibe. This is why I'm just like, let me get my money up so I don't have to depend on anyone. I just have to depend on myself. I'm learning how to be self-sufficient for myself, and no one can take anything away from me. Once you have what you need and what you need for yourself, and you've got what you got, no one can take that away from you. You can do whatever you want to do. You can go where you want to go. You know, just it is what it is. Amy, your Scorpio. Oh, girl. If you're a Scorpio sun, it'd be interesting to see where your sun, where your Scorpio is in your chart. I'm a Scorpio moon and rising, so and I'm an 8th house sun as well. So yo, like there's levels to this Scorpio game. I really understand trauma, really, and insensitive. Like I have Pluto on my 1st house as well. Obviously, Scorpio rising, so that gives another level of intensity to my character that sometimes is really it's really isolating for me. And I say it's isolating because it's like I don't realize how intense I can be with people, like even talking about these types of topics. Like I can go to someone and this is, oh my gosh, like the most amazing thing happened to me today. So I literally came back from a lymphatic draining session, massage, and my therapist is the first time I'm going to her, but she was like also a spiritual woman as well. So I'm there talking about astrology and stuff, because this is like when I tell you guys, this is my life. Like I'm talking about this all the time. Like that's how you know I'm passionate about what it is that I do, because I'm always talking about it. And it's not to push ideas on people. It's just I just love to. This is just the way that I express myself. So like we got talking, and she was just like, "Wow, oh my gosh, like that's amazing." And we was able to exchange ideas and stuff like that. And it was just like this has been happening to me a lot recently, like but this time like I was able to speak about it and someone got what I was talking about that was just completely random, and it was just like, wow, okay, cool. But when I speak to other people, they're just like, I'll speak and then they'll be like, okay, and in their head they're thinking, yeah, this is a bit too deep for me. Like I remember when I was in university, for those in America, sorry, we shorten everything over in the UK. But when I was in university, I remember from the second week that I got there, people were just like, it's not every day deep, you know, Nams, it's not every day deep. Like some days just be normal. And this was because I went into university. In fact, let me share this because this was wild. This was actually when my gifts turned all the way on, and this will probably give some encouragement to those that may feel like they don't have a gift or that they're just like really dull. I felt like that was me up until when I went to university. I felt like I was trying to connect to this thing called God, or whatever it was called. At the time I was Christian. But when I moved to Birmingham and I went to university, and just having that isolation, a change of environment, everything, I remember being in my room and this is like, I just started seeing. I just started seeing. I have seen stuff like when I was younger. I mean, I remember when I was 9, I told my parents that I had an older brother and told him his name, told him he was mixed race. And they were like, who told you? I was just like, my dreams. But I hadn't really had a lot of those types of experiences until when I went to university, and I was just seeing, and everyone I would see straight through them, to the point where people would literally go and start warning. They would warn people that would come to the house and be like, yo, she starts picking up stuff about you, it's normal. Like it's just is what it is. And like people will come to the door and I'll be like, yeah, so you're a dancer, why are you not dancing? That's your passion, why are you not like, oh. It was just wild. Like, so I'm having to learn how to tone that element, because I'm having to realize that not everyone is on that level. not everyone has that level of intensity. And even this even connects in my work, because trust me when I tell you guys, yeah, I'm a Scorpio moon and rising. Pluto is conjunct my moon on my first, right? And I'm an 8th house sun. When I tell you I see straight through people, I see straight through people, and I see deeper than what I even tell people. I only tell people what they can handle at that moment, because not everyone's ready for that level of depth. Not everyone is ready for that level of realness to be able to face that depth. But because I'm having to do that with myself on an everyday level, that it's natural to me, it's nothing to me. But I'm having to realize that not everyone can be as passionate as they're healing. Like Scorpio is also ruled by Mars, so there's going to be that element of fire and that element of passion that is applied to that. And even with regards to, let me put this out there, like my journey is my journey. Like I'm very committed to my journey of self-healing, my journey of self-development. And sometimes I feel really guilty saying this, because it's like I'm seeing there's so many people who say these things and do these things, but don't actually live up to the standard of these things. And so sometimes when I say these things, it feels like I'm just saying it for sake of saying it, but only I know my truth. And the people who live with me and are with me all the time, only they know the truth. And so I can only stand in that in itself. And so I'm committed to my journey, my journey of self-healing, because I know what pain feels like, and I want to get as far away from that as possible. And I want to be able to make sure that I transform myself and evolve myself into the person that I need to be for this lifetime, so that I can make sure that I set myself up for wherever I'm going in my next. We're all E equals MC squared. We're always traveling. But I just want to make sure that, especially being a double sign, people say that, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I'm a double sign and make it a good thing. No, that means that you failed your lesson. It means that you're having to do things again. And if you're a triple, even worse, right? So I failed my last lessons, and I'll even talk about it when I do the workshop tomorrow. I'll be able to speak more about what those lessons are, like what are the lessons that you failed through your moon sign, and then learn how to be able to transcend those lessons. So the SIP says, I am Scorpio, Sun, Taurus moon, not sure what it means. I know they're opposite signs. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, your sun and moon is opposing. So you're having to learn how to integrate your, you struggle a lot with being out there, but also retreating into yourself at the same time. Like it's an opposition that you're feeling. So Golden Mummy says, yep, it's good to be around people on the same frequency as you are. Yes, it is good to be around people who are on the same frequency. But I do want to put this out there as well, because everyone is because I mentioned this, if you guys caught my video about that I made about the spiritual community needing an enema. And I was like, sometimes we can literally be like spiritual germaphobes. Oh, this person isn't my frequency. This person isn't my wave, so I want to be away from them. And it's like, yes, keep your boundaries in certain areas, but don't limit yourself to certain experiences as well. And frequency is frequency, whether it's something whether it's in a like frequency, a frequency that resonates with you, or whether or not, like, for example, I've learned so much, especially over the last few years, because Capricorns, I could not understand a Capricorn ever. And it's crazy because I have a lot of I have a lot of Capricorn in my chart. So, and even it's so crazy, my third house is Capricorn. So even how I speak is very Capricornian. And that's one of the main things that annoys me, is just how they have to, everything's just so principle orientated. And I'm very principle orientated, but I've had to literally see that in myself, like, this year and see how I can literally rub certain people up the wrong way just by being certain rigid in certain areas. But it's not so. But because I've got a Gemini sun, I'm still able to be very mutable in my perceptions and stuff. So I'm not stagnant. I'm not fixed in that area. But Capricorn is really annoyed, and Virgos, like the living daylights out of you. But this is why I really love astrology, because it's just allowing me to see, okay, this is just the perspective of that frequency. This is just the perspective of that energy. It's not right or wrong. It's just my energy allows me to perceive the information this way, and their energy allows them to perceive their information this way. But what we need to see if we can actually create a bridge of understanding. If we can't, then we can't. Then it just doesn't work like that. That's a King Kong, things are just too far away for you to be able to see how things interrelate. But if there's a way that you can create a bridge, then go for it. But it just helps you to understand yourself in everyone else. You are what you attract. Yes, definitely. I see them in my dreams all the time. They can't hide. I can't remember what that was referring to, Nicola. But yeah, Amy, I'm not directing that intensity like you are. I feel really scattered, fuzzy in terms of my mind. There's too much water. I feel you. Yeah, I've got Mars in Aries as well, so I'm able to kind of focus my energy a bit better. But I can totally get you, and if I didn't have that ability, like, I can understand how someone could really struggle in that area in itself. But there is still a way for you to be able to direct that. Like, that would be your way to be able to evolve yourself, learn how to be able to focus your energy, learn how to be able to ground yourself so you don't feel as scatty and as fuzzy as you normally feel, and that you're not always being like, you have some level of ground, you have some level of foundation. I know once I move and get out of here, I'll be able to tap in a couple of weeks. I can't wait. Go ahead, girl. Like, but one thing I will say as well, because I remember last year, and I'll share this with you guys. So those of you who know the story about the whole mental health and all that kind of stuff, then you can catch those videos back on my channel. So I lost everything. I lost my home. I lost everything in my home. I had to start from scratch. Everything in my home right now is everything that I've had to get within the last 2 years, literally. So I was in emergency accommodation year before last, just few months after my child was born. And I remember I kept being like, because before I was in emergency accommodation, I was at my parents', and I was in this place where I was like, I'm not where I want to be. I can't do what I need to do. I'm not in a space. But at the same time, I wasn't happy with where I was, and I was still feeling like this element of depression, but I was still happy that I was moving. But the reason why I'm saying this is that I had to learn how to be able to still create elements of myself to where I can still feel like I'm making that ground where I am. Like, sometimes we wait for the perfect moment, or the perfect place, or the perfect whatever. Sometimes let's make do with what we've got in this time. Like, even we're not in 2020 yet. So all of the goals that you're trying to set for 2020, start them now. There's no time. Like, time is time is an illusion. So get rolling with those stuff now. Like, really get tapping in. Like, what are you gonna do? But yeah, once you move, like, you'll be able to move to another level. It's almost like you're able to create a level of momentum for yourself before you actually get into the space that you are. And I feel like when I did that, it was amazing for me. And even when I was in emergency accommodation, like, I wasn't where I wanted to be. I was in emergency accommodation. It was a small room, and for those who know, we was going through a lot with regards to the building and the overheating and all that kind of stuff. It was crazy. I wasn't where I wanted to be, but I still had to be able to put certain things into place so where I could still feel alive in the interim before I got to where I wanted to be. And so even right now, I'm still in temporary accommodation. We don't know when we'll get moved, but um, you know, right now I don't have the space to be able to do what I want to be able to do. But even me starting this channel, I wasn't gonna wait until I moved to start my channel. Yes, things are raw right now, like because I started out of faith and just doing like starting because I didn't want to allow myself to fall into the procrastination trap that I normally fall into, because I allow things to keep going on and on and on and on and on, and I won't commit to things. So I had to literally just be like, well, I'm gonna do this now. Yeah, things are raw. Yes, I'm growing, but you know what? Just gonna be open about it. And whatever happens, happens. And but at least I'm creating that momentum. I'm not waiting until I get to a certain place. But yeah, I'm hoping that makes sense. I'm a Leo Sun, Taurus Moon. Okay. Jolie, oh, my sister's a Capricorn. We get along with each other, but man, she's so different to me. Girl, they are different. But again, there's it's about seeing the beauty in what they can add as well. And I think that's what helps me to understand them a bit better. Capricorn, that's like the manager type, like in retail. Yes, it is. And like a Capricorn moon, if you're Capricorn moon, you would have been someone who would have been the person on Wall Street, or in their business, a type like proper business person or whatever, like that type of up there type field. You're someone who had a level of authority in that area. Amy, completely unrelated. Do you believe in space travel? I don't mean like end of the world scenario, just more like bridging out of the galaxy. Yes, I do. I believe that we're astral traveling all the time. But okay, let me premise this way. I don't believe in space travel in the sense of what they're doing right now in terms of like NASA. That's all fake. I feel that space travel is more so interdimensional travel. I feel that it's more so because one thing I didn't mention in that glitch experience is that something was very peculiar for me. I remember that when I remember specifically when they put me into the ambulance. The ambulance felt like some kind of simulation in itself. It was weird because like it didn't feel like we was moving anywhere. It just felt like we were stood still. And then when I got to the hospitals felt like portals of planets. Like they felt like actual planets. And I was like, this is like travel, all of this kind of stuff is an illusion. And because what I was experiencing was an element of the whole holographic universe type thing, it was just wild. But I believe that really the space is not something that's external. It's actually just you are the universe, like literally in literal terms. Like it's more so an internal, like a black hole. What would that be? Your subconscious mind. Like you are a star in itself. Like you are the cosmos. And so I feel like things are flipped in terms of the perspective of space, and what space is and what the planets actually are, planets. And whew, it's a lot of stuff. I don't want to say a lot of this stuff on YouTube publicly, because again, like I said, yeah, I still want to be able to maintain my channel and make sure my channel is still up. A lot of this stuff, like I want to be able to speak about more on private platforms, because these things are very much real. But I understand there's a time and a place, and YouTube is becoming a bit wild. But yeah, astral travel is more so space travel, and it's more so interdimensional and multidimensional, if that makes sense. Jolie says, but I love these types of topics. Yes, me too. I love these types of topics too. But like I said, I want to be able to still be able to make a space for these topics on a private platform, on my private platform. And I want to be able to solidify that properly in the new year. I was just trying to make sure that I grew my following on YouTube and collected my tribe, my actual tribe. And then I could actually, you know, have a group of people that are genuinely my tribe. Amy says, but is it your perspective if someone would offer you a rise to Orion, would you take it? No, I wouldn't. Because like, yeah, I wouldn't, because for me, I can travel to Orion inside of me. Like it's an interdimensional thing. Like these are just like the constellations are related to body parts. Like Aries would be the head, Cancer would be the breast, Virgo would be the digestive system, Pisces would be the feet. I feel that it's literally just a representation of the body, as above, so below. Like, but the above is below, if that makes sense. I hope you catch that one. Jolie, Maitreya, how can I listen to you discuss about these types of topics? I love hearing your opinions. Like I said, hopefully in the new year, I'd like to set up a private platform. I do have a small group, the Inner Realms, on Facebook that you can also join. You can find the group through my Soul Reconnection page, Soul-Reconnection on Facebook. But I want to make, because I know that these types of topics are very niche within itself, and only particular people will be able to really understand my perspectives and these types of experiences. This is why I want to be able to make these ones private. And also, I'm also private in these for my own protection and my own safety in itself, knowing the experience that I went through. There's so much that I haven't disclosed about my experience, and very real reasons as to why I haven't. But there's an element of protection that I still have to have on myself publicly in these types of places, because if anyone knows about targeted individuals, yeah, it's very much real. It's a very much real story. So yeah, I'd rather take these stuff off my public platform, but still introduce certain topics and kind of explore certain things. There's even certain things about the moon I wanted to get into, but I wouldn't put these on my public platform. But yeah, there's so many layers. So many layers. I have Pluto in the first house too. Oh, girl. Levels, the intensity. But you know what it means, that you have the ability to transform yourself, but also other people around you. That's the thing that annoys me sometimes. Like people will end up having a transformation whether they like it or not, just by the interaction with you. Like, so they end up doing something that they mess with you with, like, and they end up still having to go through an element of a transformation. And you're like, why did I have to just end up being in the middle of that? But hey, you know, it's just one of those things. But yeah, it's been awesome speaking with you guys. Again, remember that tomorrow is the Prison of the Soul workshop. And so make sure that you register before it's too late. I'm gonna jet off because tomorrow's gonna be a long day. I don't know why I end up double booking Sunday, and then because I like to hold myself to myself, I'm not changing it. So I'm still gonna have to work tomorrow. We're gonna be singing down at the Blues Kitchen in Shoreditch. So if anyone's around the area, come down. It's going to be awesome. I'm there between 2 and 4, sorry. And then I'll be getting back to prepare for the workshop for tomorrow. And I'm so excited to be able to do that. I'm not even too well at the moment, which is why my energy's a bit low. But all will be well anyway. So again, thank you guys for joining. Remember to like the video. Remember to subscribe if you're not actually subscribed to the channel. And I will see you guys on the other side.